"Don't be jealous, I want you both tonight," my wife said, laughing as if she'd told a harmless joke. She'd invited her ex to our Valentine's dinner and spent the evening touching his arm, leaning close, flirting like I wasn't even there. The restaurant was full, candles glowing, couples holding hands, and my marriage quietly collapsing in public. I didn't shout. I didn't storm out. I waited, watched, and understood something important. When I finally stood up, I said one cold sentence that ended everything we'd built. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, back when I still believed Valentine's Day meant loyalty, back when I thought respect was automatic, not something you had to demand from the person who promised forever. My name is Daniel Reed, and I manage logistics for a regional distribution company in Brookhaven, Ohio. I'm practical, organized, predictable. My wife, Lila, was the opposite. Social, charming, magnetic in every room she entered. We'd been married 10 years, no children, just routines and shared plans that looked stable from the outside. Early on, I admired how easily people gravitated toward her. Somewhere along the way, admiration turned into discomfort. She thrived on attention the way some people thrive on oxygen. Compliments energized her. Admiration softened her mood. I told myself that was just her personality. Over time, her phone became an extension of her hand, buzzing constantly with messages she smiled at but never shared. I ignored it, believing trust meant silence. I was wrong. The first red flag was how casually she talked about her ex, Mark. "We're adults," she said. "We're friends now." At first, it was occasional mentions. Then texts. Then inside jokes I wasn't part of. She said he worked nearby, that they'd run into each other. When I questioned it, she accused me of insecurity. "You're imagining things," she said, dismissing my concerns with practiced ease. Dates turned into cancellations. Dinners turned into scrolling on her phone. When I planned something special, she seemed distracted, as if her real life was happening somewhere else. Still, I told myself marriages go through phases. I told myself trust meant patience. Meanwhile, boundaries were dissolving, and I was the only one pretending they still existed. Valentine's Day was supposed to reset us. I booked a reservation weeks in advance, ordered flowers, even wore the jacket she liked. That afternoon, she mentioned Mark casually, like she was discussing the weather. "He doesn't have plans," she said. "I invited him to join us. Don't be jealous." I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. At dinner, she greeted him warmly, sat closer to him than to me, touched his arm while speaking, laughed too loudly at his stories. Other couples stared. I felt invisible at my own table. When I asked her to stop, she smiled and whispered, "Relax." Something inside me settled then. Not anger, not sadness, but clarity. Respect wasn't missing. It had been deliberately removed. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I waited until dessert arrived untouched. Then I stood, placed my napkin carefully on the table, and spoke calmly. "This marriage ends tonight," I said. Her smile vanished. "Don't be dramatic," she laughed nervously. "You misunderstood." I looked at both of them and replied, "No. I finally understand." The restaurant went quiet. I paid the bill, wished them a good evening, and walked out alone. That sentence wasn't impulsive. It was overdue. For months, I'd been shrinking myself to preserve her comfort. That night, I chose dignity instead. By the time I reached my car, the decision felt irreversible, like a door closing that should have shut long ago. I didn't go home that night. I stayed at a small hotel near the highway and slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I called an attorney before Lila finished leaving voicemails. The process was straightforward. Documents, timelines, separation of accounts. Lila oscillated between anger and panic, insisting it was a misunderstanding, a joke taken too seriously. But jokes don't humiliate, and misunderstandings don't repeat themselves for months. Friends reached out quietly, admitting they'd noticed things but hadn't known how to tell me. Mark disappeared once reality arrived. Attention is exciting until it requires accountability. I moved into an apartment, took only what mattered, and left the rest behind without argument. Peace doesn't require revenge, only boundaries enforced at last. The town reacted the way small towns do, slowly, then all at once. Stories circulated, softened or sharpened depending on who told them. I didn't correct anyone. Truth has a way of surviving without assistance. Lila tried to rebuild her image, portraying herself as misunderstood, adventurous, free-spirited. But freedom without respect looks different when examined closely. People noticed who stayed consistent and who changed versions weekly. I focused on work, routine, rebuilding my confidence without noise. Some nights were lonely, but loneliness felt cleaner than humiliation. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love. It's permission. And permission, once abused, becomes resentment. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. There's a difference, and it changes how you walk away. Our divorce finalized quietly 6 months later. No courtroom drama, no reconciliation attempts. Lila moved cities, chasing a fresh start where no one knew the full story. I stayed, grounded by work, friendships, and the relief of honesty. Sometimes people ask if I regret standing up that night. I don't. That sentence didn't destroy my marriage. It revealed it was already gone. What ended wasn't love, but pretense. I lost a relationship built on blurred lines and gained clarity I didn't know I needed. Valentine's Day still comes every year, but now it reminds me of something valuable. Love isn't proven by endurance alone. It's proven by respect when temptation is convenient. And when respect disappears, walking away isn't weakness, it's survival.